What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to Season 4, Episode 4 of the Culture 316 podcast. I am one of your hosts and producers, Jordan Nahisi.
Join with your co-host, Mo. What is up, people?
And thank you so much for tapping back in with us for another episode. Once again, if you are on Apple or Spotify podcast, be sure to give us 5 stars, like and rate the show. Be sure to subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But without further ado, we're going to get into this show because we have a lot of ground to cover. So, first things first, this past Monday on Raw, Triple H revealed the new WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and he announced that that the World Heavyweight Champion will be crowned on May 27th at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. The belt that was presented, had some polarizing reactions online, but it was also announced that the belt will be on a brand where Roman Reigns will not be on. So I have a question. How did you feel about the belt design? How do you feel about the purpose of the championship? And in your opinion, who should be the first WWE World Heavyweight Champion?
See, I don't want to fully hate the belt because I see that they were listening to us. Kind of. They did it wrong. But they were listening to us because for many years now, we've been cooling off how, the World Heavyweight Championship is just, the best championship from the WWE, hands down. Arguably, you could argue the Eagles Championship. That one was fire, too. But when I think of the World Heavyweight Championship, I think of Batista. The one I think about the one Triple H was holding, Cena held, all that. It just looked like when whoever had it on them, it just looked like a king was holding it. You know what I'm saying? It just looked like the most important title on the entire brand, and I could see why everyone was fiending for it because hell. I got to see a replica in person and I was holding it. I just felt like that bitch. Honestly. So I can't be that mad now that I look at it later on and, and I view it. I'm like, okay, they were listening to us. They're trying to mix a little bit of the old and the classic. But the execution, terrible. God awful. And the more I stare at it, I realize that it's because they took such a classic style with the engravements and embellishments and the designing with the gold, and then they decided to slap this very annoying minimalistic W on top. Which there's no issue with having your logo on the belt. It's just that it didn't go well. To be honest, you're better off just writing out World Wrestling Entertainment. Me personally, that's what I thought. You could kept the globe and just wrote across in some royal italic shit font, and I feel like that would have made it look better. But I just feel like, to me personally, I already get annoyed at the minimalistic logos that I see nowadays because it takes away the character of anything that you put it on. But yeah, I think that if they would have just kept the globe, wrote out the words, and then perhaps maybe just brought back the name titles, I think it would have been pretty dope. You could still make it old and new at the same time. But E for effort, G- for execution because it's ugly. But no belt is uglier than the shit that I've seen in New Japan. But we can get into that another time. Now, as far as crowning somebody, I saw a lot of arguments where people were saying Seth Rollins deserves it. But I'll be honest, I'd be kind of annoyed if Seth Rollins got it. Just because he deserve a belt? Yes. Would it be cool if he had it for a little bit? Perhaps, for a little bit. Actually, I actually wouldn't be mad the more I think about it. If he had it for a short run, I wouldn't mind it. I feel like whoever does have it, they don't need a long run. I think that's something that WWE kind of needs to stop doing. I don't think that's, because we have this whole thing with Roman Reigns having a long behind run with the belts. I personally think that whoever has this belt, it needs to be no more than 3 or 4 months, and we need to see the belt be brought over to someone else. But we need someone that is already established enough to where we can't argue if they have it or not. So at first I did not want to say Seth Rollins because he doesn't need a belt. However, he's the perfect person because he is the perfect wrestler. And it would feel weird if he didn't get it first. I feel like if he got it later on, I wouldn't care. But just for him to have it now, to give it prestige, the same way he elevates a wrestler, I wouldn't mind actually if he had it first. But you also could argue that a new talent could use that rub with being the first person to have the belt. That I
Right.
haven't thought about. But have you, by any chance, Jordan?
As far as like who was I thinking about who should be crowned?
Yeah, that could be crowned. That isn't someone that we already seen with gold. Someone that's on the newer end that could get that rub from a new belt.
Does is Are we talking about all gold that they haven't held or just main roster
World
gold?
heavy main roster gold. Yes.
All right. So I'm gonna start at the beginning as far as the design. I'm gonna get to that
Yeah.
because I feel like if I start with the who should be crowned, I'm gonna just dive into that. But
Sure.
so I'm gonna start with the design of the belt.
Yeah.
Pause. I'm gonna start with the design of the belt. When I first saw it, I was like, because I felt like they combined the winged eagle and the big gold. And I was like, this is interesting. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like it that much at first.
Mm-hmm.
However, the more that I saw it and the more that I looked at it, the more that I liked it, which was very, very weird. And it kind of a little bit grew on me. And you know what did it was seeing a mock up of the title on Finn Balor. And I was like, wait a minute, that looks good. That looks all right. It's not as bad as I thought it was as I thought it was going to be. And maybe it's just one of those things where it's just gonna have to grow on me. So that's how I feel about the design of the world title. Now as far as the function, I think that the function is 100% justifiable. I believe that, like you said, we've been talking about, main roster gold, and we've been talking about how, Roman has kind of usurped the WWE World Heavyweight, the WWE Championship and the WWE Universal Championship. And now it just feels like there's a vacancy on one brand because Roman has to do both brands because he has both belts. So the fact that we have now a world title that is separate and apart from Roman, I think is perfect because there are a lot of people that I feel like deserve a world championship who may not need to face Roman. Jesus, allergies. Um, I think Gunter is one of those people. I think that Bobby Lashley is another one of those people. Um, but that leads me into who I believe should be crowned the first WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Well, first I'm gonna start with um the person that I believe is like a new person that I think would be a good idea to crown, Braun Breaker. If the WWE draft is coming up and they're trying to establish a new talent and they're going to establish a tournament for this, I believe that if we're going with a new talent that we want to put over right away, right out the gate, I believe that Braun Breaker is that guy.
I can agree with
However,
that. Mm.
however, I do believe that Seth Rollins should be the first WWE World Champion. And here's my explanation why. The number one thing that I saw online after they announced this world title was, oh, this is just a consolation prize for someone who hasn't beaten Roman. But the only way that you can establish this world championship to be a credible world championship is if you put it on someone who Roman has never beat. That person is Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is the only person on the roster who Roman Reigns does not have a one up on. And that way, if you put the belt on him, it's not going to be seen as a consolation prize. It's going to be seen as a legit world champion because Roman has never pinned Seth Rollins. So I think that that's the best way to go because ultimately it gets rid of this stigma that the world title is a consolation prize. And it gets rid
Wait,
of this
how did
stigma.
they win? Didn't they just have like within a year they versed each other? I can't remember the finish of the match.
Royal Rumble, but Roman
Yeah.
got DQ'd.
Oh.
So he never pinned Seth clean. So like you can just make that argument that, hey, like you never pinned me, so you can't say that you're better than me, and you also can't say that this championship is secondary to your championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what? No, that's perfect. This is perfect booking.
I'm smart. I be using
Not
my
for
big
real.
head.
For real. This is my host, y'all. Like
Also, I was gonna say also, I think everybody, their whole thing was like, oh, well, for all this, Cody should have won because everybody thought when the world title was announced that Cody was going to win the belt. But I don't think that Cody should win the belt, and I don't think that Cody will win the belt, because I believe that Cody's victory is going to be taking down Roman. And
Yeah.
I think that if Cody becomes the champ, he needs to take down Roman. I think that that's his story. And now the story with Cody and Roman could really play out, and it won't hinder another world champion being crowned. So
That's
there's that.
true.
So that's my little thing on the world title. But we want to know your opinions on the new WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Let us know in the comments below what you think about it. But we're going to be moving on.
Hmm.
So, speaking of WWE, it seems as if a former WWE champion was backstage this past week, and his name is CM Punk. He was backstage apparently when WWE was in town, where he reportedly smoothed things over with The Miz and other WWE officials. Do you believe that Punk was trying to make a move, a political move, or do you really think that he was genuinely trying to smooth things over with other wrestlers?
With the timing, like, come on now. Like, we just had a report about how they were gonna make essentially like a whole other roster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or show to pretty much accommodate Punk, which shows that there's still a lot of heat backstage with him. Maybe not universally in that locker room, but it's like, you're either on this side with Punk or you're on the other side. So maybe, just maybe, he's just trying to undo some bridges that he burnt, if you will, and
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to go to WWE and maybe like try to just rub some people that are up there. Let's be honest, like the Miz is like, even though he's not like someone that we view as like a world champion, he's definitely like a WWE guy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like someone who obviously Vince McMahon has to be behind. Like his whole career, he kind of always has been on the up. Man went
Right.
from hosting to being in important matches, to having Marie's, having his own TV show. Every single child that he ever had a whole announcement. Like he's just like relatively important in relation to people backstage with
Right.
WWE. So I feel like for him to do that, that's very strategic. Like I could say all I want about CM Punk, but he is very strategic.
He
So
is.
if I were him, and I don't blame him for this move, to be honest, especially with how badly he screwed up, who's to say that he could come back to AEW and that he's going to be punished? And maybe he knows that he's going to be set up because I mean he's a veteran. He's been around for how long? He knows how this business moves.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite possible that he is like, all right, just in case these people want to play in my face, let me just like while they're playing checkers, let me go play some chess and
Right.
let me just establish some pieces right here, just in case. Like, if y'all want to play in my face, well, all right, bet. I have this little secret deal with Vince in the bag where he says, like, if I do X, Y, and Z, I could just hop ship and I could get a big push and I could get everything that I want that I didn't get the first time over there or over here back at home base. So I really think that it's a little bit of both. I still think in the back of his head is still screw WWE, but I also still think that at the end of the day, Punk is going to business for himself first and foremost. So he's going to
Mm.
do what he has to do. The bills have to get paid somehow, y'all.
Right.
What do you think?
So, in my personal opinion, I think it could be one of two things. One,
Uh-huh.
I think that it could be just, I feel like what happens with conflict in life, not just like with wrestlers, but like with everyone, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
conflict is a good time to reflect and reset.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always been this stigma around CM Punk that, he seems like a nice guy, but backstage he's a jerk or whatever the case may be. And I don't know if that's the case or not. I've never met him. He looks like a pleasant human being. But I just feel like sometimes there are times in your life where you want to put your pride aside and just be like, listen, I just want to clear the air with X, Y, and Z. um Maybe you misinterpreted me, maybe you took me the wrong way, and that way, and for that I apologize. And I feel like he may be doing that, and that's normal and a human thing to do, to be able to reflect and reset and kind of gather yourself and then bring yourself to a resolve and just be like, you know what, let me just clear the air with certain people. I truly don't think that he wants to go back to WWE, um but I think he does want to clear his name. So that's number one. Another part of me does feel like he just wants to make sure that all of his eggs are not in one basket. Because to be honest, when we talk about doing a brand split and we talk about like possibly building another roster and another show around one guy, that's a big financial risk, especially if allegedly the show is on a Saturday, which is probably not going to garner as much or as high of a rating as a Dynamite would, which is on a Wednesday. Um, so I feel like he's just like, listen, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm just going to make sure that however this ends up, I'll be all right. And once again, smart business move, and I can understand where he's coming from with that. So I say kudos to him. But yeah, I just think that Punk is just in a spot right now, like you said, he's gonna play checkers. I don't think he wants to leave AEW. I feel like he's legitimately comfortable there, but I do believe that he wants to make peace and he wants to do good business, and you can't blame the man for doing that. So that's all I have to say about that. But we want to know how y'all feel. Do you believe that CM Punk is WWE bound, or is he still all elite? Let us know in the comments below. Anywho, we're moving on to the next topic because it seems this is going to be one of our two biggest segments of the day. It seems that WWE is facing yet another lawsuit. This time, a former writer is accusing Vince McMahon and WWE for racist scene scripts. Allegedly, the black female writer said that she was discriminated against for objectifying or objecting to offensively racist and stereotypical jargon used in the scripts of black talent. Two of those talents that were listed were Bianca Belair and Apollo Crews. She said that her complaints were ignored, but that she was terminated for taking home a WrestleMania branded chair, which was a common thing to do amongst white male writers, and they were not allegedly punished for it. So I want to know, do you believe these accusations, and what does this say about WWE's creative environment?
Do I believe these accusations? This is WWE. They've been racist for all I know. Like, this is the same company that had Roddy Piper do blackface and cut a whole promo. This is the same company that had cut the most racist segment on Booker T and Triple H, and Lily said, "Dance for me, Booker, dance." This is the same company that chased down Mexicans. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that
Nothing
JBL
about
segment, that was crazy.
yeah, like this company, for all I've known, has been extremely racist. So this does not shock me at all. And the more I read into this case, they were more or less saying that this wasn't the only incident. They had there was a wrestler that they wanted to play a role in which they had a helping hand in 9/11, which was, why would you do that? Like, why? Like, even when they tried that back in the day with Muhammad Hassan, I think that was the guy's name when we were kids,
Yeah,
right?
Muhammad Hassan, I remember that. Yeah,
They tried cutting a 9/11 promo. Like, I don't know why. Like, why? I think the alleged wrestler that they tried doing this with was Mansoor when I read into it.
yes,
So nothing about this like shocks me. I 110% believe her. I think with the Bianca Belair um writings that they had in for her, they were trying to make her act, ghetto, and have her say, let me take out my earrings for like, I be your ass, some shit like that. Um, nothing about this shocks me. And I feel like WWE will never stop acting this way. I feel like, on the surface, they want to appear like they're always politically correct and in with the times, but they're still like creatures of habits to their own sinful ways. And I don't see this ever stopping. Like, they probably hired a black writer just so they could, like, on their demographics say, "Oh yes, we have diversity in our company." You know what I mean? They have people like Bianca Belair push, so when they have Black History Month, they could just put a collage up a bunch of black wrestlers. But I don't think realistically they actually care. And we always known that. Like, we always have known this since we were small watching wrestling, that yeah, like, certain people with a certain look, with a certain skin color, and a certain eye color, you know what I mean? They get treated correctly. They could be whoever they want to be, but if you're in the other box, if you're ethnic, you are confined to your stereotypes. Like, that's just how this company is. And it gets more and more frustrating for me as a fan to like hang in there and watch and support, because I love wrestling, but I hate the way I have to view and watch my favorite wrestlers that look closer to me, or just representing other people out there that don't look like me but don't look like them, you know, just be misrepresented. Like, it's 2023. Why are we still talking about or trying to get stereotypes over? It's not funny. Like, we're so much more than that, you know. And it's such a shame that she got fired for that, because it's petty. And that happens so often in so many workplaces where, and I think Jordan could even share a story. Jordan could even share a story on this, where it's just like there's a bunch of microaggressions that happen. They just wait to find the smallest, pettiest thing, because they can't fire you on paper because you're black, and that, you know, you being ethnic makes it uncomfortable. You being your authentic self makes it uncomfortable, because there's laws now that prevent that, and that's a lawsuit there. So they wait to find the pettiest, smallest thing. This does not shock me. But you know what? Let me end my rant right here, because I'm sure Jordan has a lot to unload here.
I'm not going to get into that many details. I'm not going to share the story as of yet. But what I will
Mm-hmm.
say is this, and it applies to my real life, and it also applies to this. There's a difference
Mm-hmm.
between what a company likes and what a company considers a value.
Mm-hmm.
The diversity, equity, and inclusion buzz term is probably one of the most thrown around buzz terms in the past 5 years for multiple reasons. The rise of Black Lives Matter, um, the conflict involving George Floyd, people of color in places of power that are wanting more to be done, to be recognized, to be seen, and to be heard, and to be represented correctly, compensated correctly, treated correctly. And I feel like the term is thrown around, and there are some workplaces that even like diversity because it looks good for marketing, and it looks good in the brochure, and it looks good on paper, and it looks good when you're telling clients about who you are. But just because you like something doesn't mean that it is a value within your company, because ultimately it is what you do behind closed doors that determines what your values are as a company. And we're seeing this play out in real life with WWE. Um, Considering that Crime Time was a thing, considering that Road Dogg or Billy Gunn came out in blackface, considering that Muhammad Hassan was a thing in WWE, that JBL was chasing quote unquote Mexicans from the border. Um, Not only do I believe these accusations to be true, but I do believe that someone would be fired for trying to object um, certain things from happening and certain words and stereotypes to be used and portrayed. I 100% believe the accusations. And once again, it's alleged. Right now, I'm using that term because that is the legal thing that we have to do, is say allegedly. But I believe that this is what I believe that this is definitely I believe that this is definitely something to be true. I think it's very, very interesting though, because I feel like there was a thought that I had a while ago, saying, you know, if we can portray, if there are racist ideals that are portrayed in movies and TV shows, why can't it be done in wrestling, where a black character can overcome said racist jargon or said racist stereotypes or whatever the case may be? I had that thought a while ago. Like, if it's done in other forms of entertainment as a form of entertainment, then why can't it be done in wrestling? But when I see stuff like this, and then when we also consider things that have been happening behind closed doors outside of what's happening with creative, the difference between what happens in film and in television versus what happens in wrestling is that in film and television, you usually have a writer or a director who understands that this is wrong. Whereas in wrestling, because it is white owned and dominated, there is a very high likelihood that people that are bringing these stereotypes and these offensively racist and stereotypical jargon are people that don't understand the significance of what they're doing.
Yeah,
They
context is
don't.
everything.
Yeah, exactly. Context is everything. They don't understand how disrespectful certain things are. They don't even understand why portraying certain stereotypes can damage a group of people. You know what I'm saying? So, like you said, context is everything. But I think that this reveals a lot about the WWE creative environment, that there is no true diversity. And if it does, because diversity isn't just a nuance in how you look, it's a nuance in perspective and an opinion. And if you're just firing somebody because they have an objection to what you're doing, which is clearly disrespectful, then are you really as diverse, equitable, and inclusion centered as you like to be portrayed? Or is it just you're doing as much as you can that you can get away with? Like, is this true diversity, equity, and inclusion, or are you just putting black people on screen because you want to cut of the black dollar?
For real.
And there's a
Also, shout out
difference.
to her, by the way. Shout out to her because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other black writers that felt uncomfortable, but because they
Mm-hmm.
probably are getting paid well, or it just looks good on their resume to be signed to the WWE and to have a writing position, they probably just like stay quiet. Honestly, I don't know how old she is. Maybe that was disclosed somewhere, but shout out to her for having some balls and standing up because I mean that's two minorities right there. You're a woman and you're black, and you're standing up for the entire roster that clearly would feel uncomfortable doing this. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like standing up against Vince McMahon, that's really
Yeah.
tough. Like his own employees that are on screen like are scared of him, but
Mm.
she did the right thing. So shout out to her because like I said, like she did what many would not and couldn't, and she was more than willing to risk her job for it. So I hope she finds something else that's more suitable for her, because she doesn't deserve to be in an environment that she feels uncomfortable at, no matter how much they're paying her. Screw that. You
Mm.
shouldn't have to like put your morals to the side for the sake of a check. And some people like doing that. Some do. A lot of
Right.
people that are employed there love to do that. But I love the fact that she felt some type of way and she stood on it 10 toes
Mm.
down, no matter what the consequences were, and she's airing them out as she should. She's a
As she
queen.
should.
Love that.
So shout outs to her for sure. But yeah, I want to know how everybody else feels about these lawsuits. Leave your comments below. Let us know how you guys feel. We're gonna move on because I know Mo's about to go off on this. So Chavo Guerrero took to online and he made some noise this week when he expressed that he was tired of current wrestlers prostituting Eddie Guerrero's name and the Guerrero name, including Eddie's best friend, Rey Mysterio. And after receiving a fair amount of backlash, Chavo claimed that he was simply playing a heel. How do you feel about this, Mo?
I can't curse on YouTube. Like I've been trying to control my mouth, and then every time I said I'm gonna control my mouth, then I end up cursing anyways, and then Jordan has to work harder. So I'm just gonna say what's on my mind anyways. I think he's weak. I think he's bitter. I think he's a pussy. And the thing about Chavo is that I typically like am on his side about most things, but this to me just angered me on so many different levels because prostituting, that's such a strong word to use for Eddie because I don't think that many wrestlers do even mention Eddie as much as he should be mentioned. But I feel like they do it because they know that the people who are doing it are doing it in such a more tasteful manner where it to me isn't like it's prostituting. I feel like to me it comes off like you're using that as like a veil to kind of
Mm-hmm.
like mask your insecurity because not for nothing, Chavo, his career's a flop. It's a flop. I can't name 5 classic Chavo Guerrero matches. I haven't seen a single Chavo Guerrero stan account on Twitter. Like honestly, the only reason why we pay attention is because you're related to Eddie. Let's keep it a buck. Whereas
Mm.
with Rey Mysterio, he's the perfect person to represent Eddie and his legacy, which you should be proud about, sir. You should be proud that someone is representing your blood in a better way than you could have, because he doesn't obviously have that star power to like keep it going. So if Chavo were to have in his case try to like ride off the coattails of Eddie and try to like, let the remainder of his career just be like a tribute to him, then that would have been in that context prostituting. But with Rey Mysterio, not only like alongside with like Eddie, they kind of put like lucha wrestling on the map. Like I literally never seen that style of wrestling until those two, and they made it like such a big mainstream thing, but they did it
Right.
without coming off like stereotypes. They like are very much two different, like very different wrestlers. They both put it on the map, but they also put like each other's like characters together on the map at the same time. You know what I'm saying? With that classic
Mm-hmm.
match that they have with one another that we'll never stop referencing, and they
Right.
did it as best friends. You know, Eddie's like one of the greatest legends to have ever like walked through those ropes, and so is Rey Mysterio. Um, and I know that with Rey being in this business, he has like amongst many other wrestlers, he has seen a lot. He has seen a lot. He has seen a lot of death, a lot of tragedy or whatnot. Like that's really hard to come through the rope, you know, become best friends with someone and then watch them go and then watch a year later your other best friend go, and it's just like, where do I go from here? Like, what can I do? Because this man has so much more in the tank to give, and it just ended so abruptly. And I don't think in my head when I watch Rey Mysterio, I watch like an Eddie pandering act. I really don't, because in my head, like there's so like I could name so many storylines that happen with just Rey Mysterio alone coming as his own. But he sprinkles in Eddie just because, again, like, why would you not? Like, that is not only just your best friend, but like I said, he is a pillar to this business.
Right.
I would not, like, I mean, not saying that Ray on his own couldn't have, like, held down representing Mexico at all, but I'm just saying him and Eddie together, like, you know, they're just like fire and air to me. I don't know how to explain it. They're like the two like biggest elements of this together, just like, psh, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like, no, I'm just saying, I just couldn't think of a more perfect person to like classily represent Eddie. You know, and he, and like I said, he doesn't overdo it at all. He never overdoes it. And I don't think any of the other wrestlers that represent him ever overdo it. Because if you're calling out people like Ray, then you're calling out people like Sasha. And y'all know how I feel about Sasha. So did you feel some type of way when she came on that Eddie Guerrero gear for that triple threat that she had with Charlotte and what the fuck else was it? I forgot. But for her first WrestleMania match, you know what I'm saying? Did you feel some type of way when she like tried to pump out the Three Amigos during her New Japan match? Like that should honestly make you smile sitting on the other end of the screen. That yo, like my blood, like after almost 20 years, is still like the blueprint for a lot of these wrestlers. Like why don't you feel honored about that? To me, it just comes like from a place of like I couldn't have been that. I couldn't have been Eddie, but I'm also not big enough to like even continue to represent Eddie. So I just feel like, to me, like, because Ray, we just talked about this like 2-3 weeks ago. Like Ray is so unproblematic that if you have a beef with Ray, it's very much
it's a you
thing.
problem. Right.
It's a very personally you, like, honestly. So when I just read this and I saw all the context behind it, it just, to me, I was just like, that you're just sad. And like I feel like he knew he was wrong. I feel like he expected somebody out there to be like, yeah, I felt like this low key. No. Like, I feel like it took for the backlash to happen for him to back up and realize, oh shit, I was not going to get away with this one.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then that's when he tried to throw on this whole, oh, I'm just working as a heel. No. Fuck out of here with all that shit, okay? Like, you knew what she was doing, and it didn't work out the way that you wanted, because the fan, if hypothetically the fans were on your side, then you definitely would have just rode off with this. And he's getting his little 15 minutes of fame right now, and it's gonna fade into the background like the rest of his career. Like, nah, I'm just saying, he just is irrelevant. He's just so irrelevant, and I'm very upset that we're giving him any form of relevancy right now, because like, you're mad. You're mad. Just say that. Just admit that you fucked up and you're mad. Honestly, he was better shutting the fuck up, because I don't know what you thought you was thinking after that amazing WrestleMania match with him against his son and him coming out on the lowrider and everyone popping for Eddie. I don't know why you thought that this was going to pan out well for you, bro.
Right.
Like, at the end of the day, Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero are guys. You're mad that you was never in the driver's seat. You was never placed to be in the driver's seat. You don't have the charisma. You don't have the vernacular. You don't have the style of wrestling. You don't have nothing, okay? And I'm proud of myself for keeping it PG, by the way, because I barely cursed.
Barely.
But that being said,
barely.
I want to hear Jordan's take.
I was gonna say, so here's my thing. I kind of like was watching this unfold,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, my number one question. I personally, I think that Chavo actually meant well. I think he legitimately was like, "Oh,
No,
this is an
no, he didn't.
opportunity to like,
No, he didn't.
have a moment. This
Jordan
is an
always
opportunity."
be doing this thing where he be
Hold on, hold
trying
on,
to
hold on, hold on,
see
hold on, hold on,
where
hold
the
on, hold on.
grass is green on the other side.
Hold
It's
on.
not. It's fake
Let me
grass.
finish. Let
Go
me finish.
ahead.
So I feel like he had good intentions,
No, he
but
didn't.
I feel like he just didn't read the room. Like, and I think that that's a fault of his own discernment. Like, he was like, I'm being a heel. Heel to what, bro? Like, what company
You're
are
not on
you in?
TV.
Yeah, right. And that's why I was like confused, because I was like, heel to what? Ray is not feuding with you. LWO is not feuding with you. So I don't understand what you were being a heel against. And I think that I feel like a lot of times a lot of wrestlers feel like they can just jump online and say things and then get some momentum behind it, and they don't think that it's going to have any repercussions behind their little tweet or their little statement. But it's like, bro, not only are you not on TV, like, and with all due respect to the Guerrero name and the Guerrero family, like, the family is kind of going through it right now. We were just on this show a couple weeks ago talking about actually
Vicky.
crediting Chavo for
Mhm.
standing up to Vicky.
Oh yeah.
And now you're coming on and you say, like, this is not, read the room, bro. This is not the time to be doing this. This is not the time to, when your niece is, accusing her father-in-law of sexual assault. This ain't the time to be talking about, oh, well, you're not a gorilla. Like, come on, bro. This ain't the time to be bringing any more attention to the family than it already is, because there's so much
Yes.
already happening. But I just feel like he just didn't read the room, and he wasn't considerate of everything that was going on. And it just, on top of that, it was just like one of those, like, bro, like, you're being a heel for what? Even if you really thought you were being a heel, you're not on TV. Like, not even just like on WWE TV, like, you're not on any TV at
Nor
all.
are you like a personality on Twitter. Like some people like the Iron Sheik. I know he's not on TV or doing anything, but like he's like low key like a Twitter personality at this point.
Right.
Like he says things and we always pop for it. So it's just like, like it's a running gag. There's no running gag with Chavo for this to even have been warranted. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm gonna cut you off. Just he pisses
You're
me
good.
off.
You're good. Hold on, my bad. Had to tuck my mic.
Not Jordan versus the mic.
My bad. Um, but yeah, like, that's just really how I felt about it. I felt like it was just weird. Like, yeah, it was just weird.
You
But
can go to hell.
anywho, um, I want to know how y'all feel about all this. So drop your comments below. But we're moving on. So, on to a lighter note. It seems as if a former WWE superstar will be making her debut on Impact Wrestling this weekend. Fightful has reported that Trinity Fatu, formerly known as Naomi, will be making her debut on Impact Wrestling. How do you feel about this news? How do you feel about the move? How do you feel about Naomi coming back to wrestling, potentially?
I mean, allegedly, I had heard that this is all because Impact did not want to pay Naomi. So as much as I want to be happy for her, I'm just
You
pissed
mean
because
AEW?
with AEW, I
Because
thought it was gonna be.
she just got hired to Impact. So I mean, obviously Impact is paying her.
Sorry, yeah, but still, like they were refusing to pay her, and I just feel like she's just as valuable as Sasha, if you ask me. So I just feel like
Mhm.
for her to have gone to Impact, I mean, I thought there's nothing for her to do there,
Right.
especially with Mickey going. She especially has nothing to do over there.
Right.
Um, but at the same time, I'm a Trinity fan, so I'm gonna support whatever she wants to do. She could not be thinking so much about money because she has other sources of money right now, but she just is coming back for the love of wrestling and just wanting to just do it again and work with different faces. I just personally don't see anyone in Impact that I care to see her work with. And I also feel like Impact is kind of beneath her. I feel like Impact is where you go when you ruin your life and you just want to like jumpstart it again. And you want to get a little bit of like attention, get some momentum going, and then have another place take you in. But Trinity still has momentum going. People
Yeah.
still have been like guessing for many, many months now, almost a year. Where is she gonna go? Is she gonna go to AEW? Is she gonna come back to WWE? Are we gonna see her besides Sasha? So to me, I'm a little disappointed because Impact is the ghetto. It's like it's like Wine Dance to Long Island. It's like Staten Island to the boroughs. It's like Michelle and Destiny's Child. I could go on.
Wow.
It's just not it. It's not it. And I feel like she to me is like a Beyonce. She's a Kelly Rowland. So I
Mm.
just feel like for her to be in this position, it's just like Sasha's over here doing this, and then you're an Impact. Like bare minimum, I would have accepted AEW at that point. I would have just accepted her being AEW.
Mm.
But that's just I'm a little disappointed, not at her, just at just the situation. I'm sure whatever she does, she's gonna knock it out the park. She's gonna reinvent herself. She's probably gonna come in with a different name, different look. She's definitely probably learned a lot because one thing about Trin is that she's always adding new stuff into her
Repertoire.
moveset. Yeah, exactly. If we seen Sasha pop off in such a small amount of time, I would love to see what she's gonna do. I just feel like it would just have been more impactful if she just would have went to AEW, or she would have, she was in Stardom. So that's just how I feel about it. But I still support you, Trin. That just whatever you want to do, that whatever makes you happy, I'm with it. Just, but go on.
I've been saying this for a while. Stop sleeping on Impact Wrestling.
I will.
I have been singing the praises of Impact Wrestling for as long as I can, for at least a couple of years now, because there was a point in time where financially they did go under. And now, if you look at their product, you know what I mean? I feel like it doesn't get the notoriety because it doesn't have the star power that other wrestling promotions do. And it may not be as accessible as other wrestling promotions are, but they're providing good storylines. They're having good matches. Every division that they have is solid. Their women's division is solid. Their X division is solid. They have a good world title picture. The women's title picture is really good right now. Well, has been in the past 6 months because you had Mickey James, you had Deonna Purrazzo, you had Mo's favorite wrestler Jordan Grace, but like that you had a good amount of
Don't play
talent.
with me, Jordan.
You had a good amount of you had a good amount of you had a good crop. You have a really
Not the
really good.
Crimson.
You had really got oh my god. You really have a great amount of talent down there, and I feel like yes, is it it's not as known as other wrestling promotions. You are correct in that sense. But I feel like if Naomi were to go to AEW, she wouldn't be properly utilized because there's already
Why?
so much talent. There's already so much talent, and they don't properly utilize said talent. They're not even promoting Jade the way that she should be promoted, and she's the TBS champion. You feel me?
Fair. That's fair.
So it's like, what do you think they're gonna do with Trinity? Like, and to be honest, I feel like if she were to go to New Japan, I like as much as I would love to see her by Sasha's side, Mercedes' side. I don't want her to just be a sidekick. You know what I mean? I want to see her wrestle matches. I want
I would
her.
cheer against her, to be honest. Not
I could
not
do
beside
that
her.
too, but that's possible because Impact and New Japan have a working relationship. But I feel like Trinity deserves her own spotlight. I feel like if she were to go into any other promotion that was oversaturated with talent, she would not be highlighted the way that she's supposed to be highlighted.
When I ask
And
you this, I'm sorry to
go ahead.
interject. Which promotion do you think represents women the best?
Hmm. I'm trying to think.
Are any of them
Right.
doing that right now?
Huh?
Are any of them doing that right now?
I I mean, like if I don't think that any of them are doing as good as they could be doing. But as
Mm-hmm.
far as who's the best out of everyone,
Mm-hmm.
or who's representing women correctly out of everyone,
Yeah.
I would probably say Impact.
Really?
And the reason why I say that, if you look at the helm of Impact Wrestling's women's division, you look at Gail Kim, who has been very, very critical of Vince McMahon and talked about how Vince McMahon, when it comes to viewing talent, Vince McMahon has a little bit of a racist approach when it comes to women, not just because he may or may not include women, but the women that he does include all look the same. And then if you look at how Impact Wrestling treats their women, they're not everyone is all the same. Sometimes you have a Mickey James at the top, sometimes you have a Deonna Purrazzo at the top, sometimes you have a Jordan Grace at the top. Like there is a mix of women. And on top of that, not only do they have a good women's world title picture, you also have a good like everybody complains about how WWE uses the women's tag team championships. Impact is doing it right. But because nobody watches it, nobody can be like, yo, they're
Yeah,
on
where do
fire.
you watch this buffoonery? What, YouTube,
Yeah,
Twitch?
it's on
What is it?
YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube for
On
free.
YouTube?
Yeah,
So
they
how
they
do they
put
make
up
their
all the full
money?
segments. They put up all the
How do
full
they make their
segments.
money?
Huh?
How do they make their money?
Well, they have a deal with Access TV. And you can also subscribe to like their insiders account, which is like Impact's OnlyFans. But like they have their own like subscription based
Impact
service.
OnlyFans is crazy.
Impact OnlyFans. It's the Impact
That's the
Insiders.
name
It's
of the
the
episode, y'all.
Impact OnlyFans. But yeah, like they have a good world title picture. They have a good
Yeah.
tag team title picture amongst the women. Even the top women who are not the world champions get treated correctly. I remember when Deonna was not holding the Impact World Championship, but they let her compete in Ring of Honor, win that world title, compete in AAA, win that world title, and they let her defend both of those titles on air. It's very similar to how FTR was being presented when they won the Ring of Honor tag team titles and the AAA World Tag Team titles. They were still presented as a top team, just like that. Impact was presenting Deonna as a top woman. And so they were letting them have great matches. They were letting them have, bangers, and they were allowing them to represent themselves the way they see fit. So, as far as who represents women the best, I would probably have to say Impact. Because not only are the women being represented correctly, but it's a woman in charge. It's a woman behind other women who is steering the creative direction of the division. Whereas, do you think a woman is behind the scenes at WWE steering the direction? And granted, they have great producers, great men over there who are doing their thing. Some of the matches, there was a man who produced the Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley match, so we can't just act like gender is everything. But when we're talking about representation and we're talking about behind the camera and in front of the camera, they got a woman behind the scenes contributing to everything, which is probably the reason why you don't hear about no, you know, BS from Impact's women division.
That's tea. No, that's facts though. Honestly, Jordan might have just put me over just a little bit. Put me on just a little bit to Impact. I might just tune it. I have to tune it now. I'm a trend fan. Okay.
Look at
But
me.
now we have to ask, how do you think they would present her
How do I present Naomi as a world
in
champion?
Impact? You're
World
gonna have
champion.
her come in and just get the belt immediately,
Yes,
title picture immediately?
absolutely. There's no other way to go about it. They did it recently with Nick Aldis. They were Josh Alexander had to surrender the world championship. And then the title became vacant, and I think Steve Macklin and somebody else had a world title match in the main event. But before the main event, Nick Aldis, who recently signed with Impact Wrestling, came out, sat at the commentary desk, and said, "Hey, it's official. I've signed with Impact Wrestling, but I'm letting y'all know right now I'm coming for this World Heavyweight Championship. So I'm going to sit ringside and commentate this match." They inserted him into the title picture immediately. And they did it in a reasonable way because the guy's a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's been in TNA before. Obviously, everywhere he's been, he's seen some form of success. So they were able to insert him into the title picture immediately, just off of sitting ringside off of commentary. They can do the same with Naomi, or they could do something else. But I don't think that if Naomi were to come in and be presented as a main eventer, that anyone would object, because everyone knows how good Trinity is. So that's just my thing.
What if they have a scheme to take over the wrestling world from the outside in?
Oh, absolutely. And I wouldn't be surprised at that. I wouldn't be surprised at that. You take New Japan, I take Impact.
We
Like,
got
why
Jay with
not?
a bell in AEW. We got
Right.
Bianca with a bell. Black Woman's taking over the world. I'm here for it.
As they should. But we want to
Ooh.
know how y'all feel about Trinity appearing in Impact Wrestling allegedly. Let us know in the comments below. We're going to move to this next and last topic because last night, Roderick Strong made his debut in All Elite Wrestling when he went and saved Adam Cole from being attacked. So, number one, are you surprised at this debut? And two, do you think that we're going to see an official Undisputed Era / Undisputed Elite reunion in AEW?
To answer your first question, no. I say no because Roddy has been so irrelevant in WWE ever since the group split up. I think everyone actually became irrelevant when the group split up. And like it's not a knock on any of them. It's just that some people like they just work better in a group. And that's perfectly okay. Like they bounced off each other's energies because they all had very important roles, but they just kind of just glue, like when you put them together, it was just like one big ball of light when they're together, and then when they were separated, it's just kind of like dimmed, and that's okay. Like some people are meant to work on their own. Some people are meant to be a main event star. Some people are meant to be a mid card star. Some people could survive just being the tag team. But some people, they just need a faction. And even Adam Cole to me needs a faction. I'm sorry, but his run in AEW has been a flop. I think I stopped caring about him when he wrestled Orange Cassidy. And that's a long time ago. That's a long time ago. And it's no shade to either or. It's just that like Adam Cole just came off less intimidating. He already doesn't look intimidating with his stature. And this I'm not trying to body shame or anything. It's just that like he already like looks less intimidating. Like if I didn't know anything about wrestling and I just like saw Adam Cole randomly, I wouldn't think to take him seriously because he has a very generic, regular look. He doesn't have a very intimidating voice to him. However, when like you had him together with these three other guys, he just and then he was talking his shit and he was being a bully with them. Like for some reason there was like a power to that. And I feel like some people want to knock it because it's the E way, everything from the E is wrong. Listen, this company may be a piece of crap, but sometimes, actually I wouldn't say sometimes, most things that Triple H did in NXT 1.0 was damn near perfect. That was like out of the modern era, that was probably like the most elite form of wrestling coming out of the WWE. Anything that came from NXT 1.0, and I feel like if we're gonna bring those talents over to AEW, I mean, if it was never broken,
Don't fix
what
it.
you trying to fix? You feel me? No way these other guys were ever going to survive on their own. People called that with Roddy and Bobby a long time ago. The only other person they sort of believed in was Kyle, and Kyle kind of, so no offense, flopped on his own, trying to be by himself. Not that he can't in the future, but he bounced better off with Adam Cole. It's kind of like to me like South Park when I think of like Kyle, Kenny, Cartman. I don't know why, but I imagine like Stan and Kyle. That's what I got out of like whatchamacallit, Stan and Kyle when I see Kyle
Adam
Riley
Cole
next to. Yeah, like
yeah.
they're like the best friends. Like, they just like they look better next to each other. Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong, it was slightly interesting to just play around with the concept of them being by themselves, but no, they could dominate the whole entire roster, the whole entire promotion if you just let them come back together. And the same way they be dragging 30 minutes out with Roman, do that with the Undisputed Era because they are fun as hell to watch.
They are.
Bring that shit back, okay? So as long as they could do that, Tony Khan got my money and my attention. Because bitch, I stopped watching wrestling for a couple weeks now. But if I see them come back, I'm still pissed off about Cody. I'm still boycotting, okay? If I see them come back, I'm here for it. Like, shit, I'll plop my ass down at 8 o'clock at night, bitch. But go on, Jordan. How do you feel about Roddy coming back?
So I was thoroughly surprised that Roddy appeared on Dynamite. One, because he's still on the WWE website. Like he was still on the WWE website as he made his debut. So not to say that I was surprised because he was relevant or he wasn't. We just didn't know where his contract situation was with WWE because we saw him with Diamond Mine like some months back leading up to a match. But we never really heard anything from him. We didn't know if he was injured. We didn't know if he was healthy. We didn't know if he was cleared. But we just assumed that he was under contract with WWE. And for that, I was shocked. Now, as it pertains to a potential Undisputed Era, I believe that we're finally going to get it, because I believe that Adam, Roddy, and Kyle O'Reilly are all perfect together. Like, the chemistry that they developed was absolutely insane in NXT 1.0. I believe that this is something that they want to do. And I believe that the
Yeah.
first one, when they tried to do it, I think that it didn't go according to plan because of, injuries and things outside of their control. But ironically, I've never been invested more into Adam Cole's character as a singles wrestler than I am right now, because of his feud with Chris Jericho. And I'm very, very eager to see where this goes, because they've created something with substance. Because, Jericho attacked Adam. Obviously, there's a lot of influence that Jericho has on Adam Cole. Then Britt got attacked, and that was orchestrated by the JAS. So, like, there's a lot of layers to this story now, and I'm actually very, very interested in seeing Roddy come back to help out Adam Cole, and knowing that there's probably going to be a world in which the JAS is probably going to have to go up against Adam Cole, and they're going to get outnumbered. I wonder if we're going to continue to see returns. And for that, I'm very, very interested, and I really, really hope that we get a Undisputed Era, Undisputed Elite reunion, because I think, like you said, NXT 1.0, their presentation was absolutely perfect. And on top of that, now even Adam Cole, like, since he returned from injury, he looks a lot better. I think he's in really, really good shape. And so I'm just very, very eager to see where this goes. But I want to know how y'all feel about this. Let us know in the comments. Do you believe that we're finally getting the Undisputed Elite run that we've been waiting for? Let us know. But that concludes our show for today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and tapping in. Join us back next week. Same Disney time, same Disney place, even though this is not Disney. But thank y'all so much, and we'll see y'all later. Bye.